Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Steve's Reads. Okay, bit of a little different setting today because the last one I done was sit outside in the beautiful Cotswolds right on the edge. But today, typical Wednesday morning in Britain, it's absolutely peeing down. So, it's in from the inside. So this is my kitchen diner, I guess you'd call it. So I hope light's a little bit better in here as well. I just want to say before I start how addicted this whole vlogging, YouTube and booktube thing can really be. I've got 10 subscribers. This is absolutely crazy. 10 people, I'm running out of fingers to count them on, have subscribed to my little channel. And hi, it's brilliant. It's just such a weird feeling. People are actually subscribing to me everywhere. So anyway, today, right, yes, back to it, what we're here for. I've been watching a few videos lately about people saying books that they would just like never ever read. And I enjoyed them and I got into a few discussions about them. And the main book that people seem to be so against, for whatever your reason, is the 50 Shades trilogy. Now, before we go any further, this video isn't for little kiddies. It's going to have a few references and stuff, so if you're offended by that, I apologise and off you go. And for the rest of you, hey, here we go. So yeah, the 50 Shades trilogy. Now, hands up, I did read all of them, but I did towards the end. I mean, there is no story, and towards the end I did find myself actually skipping over the sex scenes because I found them quite boring, really. And I don't know, I didn't read it for the sections anyway, there's plenty of books out there for that, but the story really didn't exist, did it? There was no story. But to me, the crazy thing about 50 Shades was not the fact that it brought BDSM to the front line. I mean, we had mothers reading it openly on buses and stuff, and it was on Tesco's, you went shopping and they had big stands with it all in. I think the film's doing the same thing now. So is there a market for this sort of read? Well, I guess there is. And again, I didn't go there looking for that side of things, but it did lead me on a path into more books of a similar nature. And the book I want to talk about today, just briefly touch on, if anyone out there is looking for an alternative to the 50 Shades trilogy, is, here we are, The Diary of a Submissive by Sophie Morgan. This book is set in England, so but that makes a difference, but I don't know. It's written by a true life submissive who is not struggling, that's the wrong term, isn't it? There's something wrong with being a submissive. It's a true account of her, and it kind of shows that you can have a normal job as well as a affluent sex life, I suppose. I wasn't sure what to make of it when I first picked it up. I mean, it looked a little bit kind of like, but the first little bit, and I'm going to quickly read a little passage to you if I may. I'm going to grab a quick glass of water because it's quite warm out here today. It's just water, by the way. So the prologue, and this was the bit that just really got me interested. You might have slipped outside to take a call on your phone when you first saw this. If you're so inclined to have been finishing a crafty cigarette before heading back into the warmth of the bar. Either way, we draw your attention standing in a gap between the buildings across the street and along a little way from where you're standing. Don't get me wrong, that's not to say I'm especially stunning, or that he is. We look like another couple on a night out, neither unusually dressed or especially loud, not even remarkable or in our unremarkableness. But there's an intensity, something brewing between us. It stops you short, making you look in spite of the fact that it's bloody cold and you're actually getting ready to go back inside and rejoin your friends. His hand is clenched around my upper arm in a grip so visibly tight, even from a distance you wonder, fleetingly, is it going to bruise? He has pushed me up against the wall, his other hand tangled in my hair and holding me in place. So when I try and look away for help, I can't. He isn't particularly big or broad. In fact, you'd probably describe him as nondescript if you were to bother describing him at all. But there's something about him, something about us, that makes you wonder for a minute if everything is all right. After that, it does get a little bit graphic and with references, but I did enjoy the book. And I did read all the sex scenes, and it was interesting. I'm not going to go into my sex life on here, but I thought I had quite an open and, lived a life, I guess. But this book, in a way, kind of made me go, oh, I don't know. In a way that not many books generally do. I guess horror books make you sort of go a little bit, you might scare me. Stephen King's It. I still can't read or watch that film, and I'm 37 years old and it still shits me up. And I hate the fact that there's a new one coming out in October, and I'll watch that as well. What is wrong with me? Come on, Steve, what is wrong with you? But today, this book, so my argument is not, for 50 Shades or against 50 Shades, but if you're looking for a book because 50 Shades intrigued you for whatever reason, but you found it a little bit too fantasy, I mean, how many billionaires men are out there with private rooms of play, with contracts to sign, who are buying their submissive cars? I mean, hello, real world here. And I think what Sophie Morgan has done in this book is we start off with her in her teens, where she's finding who she is. We follow her through to her first dominant, and then we see that relationship progress into, well, basically what it's all about. And then of course they finish and she meets somebody else, and he really, really pushes her to the limits in ways that, again, I was starting to think, okay. So if you're looking for an alternative 50 Shades because it was something you want to read about it, or you're looking for a book that really just takes you into it, I read this whole book. I have said before, I'm quite a slow reader, but I read this whole book in probably about a week. I know it's not exactly a thick book, but I was so engrossed in it. I was playing it out in my mind. It was real to me. It was there. So yeah, I would definitely recommend The Diary of a Submissive. I would give it 10 out of 10. Purely for shock value. It's not porn, it's not supposed to make you horny or whatever, but it does make you think, and to me, it really does what 50 Shades never could, and that is to give you a true story of what BDSM is and why it's not at all how people think it is. So yeah, that's it really. That's my little video for this week, an alternative to 50 Shades of Grey, as read by Steve Reeds and reviewed and liked by Steve Reeds. So until next week, to all my 10 subscribers and anybody else who's watching this, have a great week. Thank you so much for watching. It's bloody brilliant, this, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care.